So one of the nice features that came out in the 2.18.8 release was this ability to go to the menu, and if you come into drawings, you could come in with a navigation tree that lets you use graphics to navigate down. And in our little example, we have going from the solar system to the Earth, picking the United States out, seeing a map of the U.S., coming over here, picking on the state of Maine, coming over here, picking on this hospital, coming over here, picking on the floor of this building, and navigating to a floor plan. So in this session, we're going to teach you how to build your own navigation tree should you want to. One of the things you really need to understand is that unless you have Drawing Composer as part of your suite of Evolve modules, you can't really do this. So let's just understand up front that Drawing Composer is a required module in order to build these navigation trees. With that said, let's go to Platform Admin and look at how this process takes place. So in Platform Admin, you're going to want to be in the drawing section, and you need to understand two areas. One is called Viewer Defaults, and one is called Drawing Categories. So if you think back to what we have here in the Drawing Viewer, and let me hop back there just to remind you, if we look here, we'll see these graphics called Campus Map, Earth, Maine. In other words, the drill down that I'm working through are actually graphics or images that are placed in the navigation tree. So when I come back to Platform Admin, I need to understand that I actually have to figure out what graphics I'm bringing in and put those names in the category tree. So you notice in this category tree, I have Campus Map, I have Earth, I have Maine, and so United States. So I have all the pieces that I need put in here as categories before I went to drawing management and actually brought those images in. So step one is really set up the categories for the images you know you're going to bring in to use for navigation. And then in step two, you actually go to drawing management and you click on new and you go find an image and you pick that image out and you say open, and then you make sure you slide the slider back up here so you can see where you are. And the category you want to pick here should always match the image that you want to bring in. In that case, that was the campus map, and so I would put here campus map as part of my thing, and I might put a description in here to just tell myself what I got here, and then when I go next, it's actually going to bring that image in. So just the real trick here is understanding that you've got to have the categories preset up, and the categories are indeed the names of the images that you are going to bring in. So then you can bring in all your images, and then you'll want to come down to Viewer Details here. And in Viewer Details, you'll want to, in the Drawing Viewer, a little box here where you'll get a pull down of all the things you could bring in. The first image you want to come up in the Drawing Viewer is the one you want to have here. So if you want the solar system, that is the one you should have here, and that's what I've got set up so that solar system will be the first splash screen that shows up when I come in. The location viewer down here, I put space plan in, and this at this point for a tree navigation, this isn't really too important. If you only had one tier where you're going to come into one splash screen and do one click, you'd want this here to be, you know, where you're going in general. And again, you've got the same kind of thing here. If I know that, if, for example, I'm going from the solar system to the Earth, I can tell it that here, but I'm also going to tell it when I set these things up in Composer, so it doesn't really matter that much. So I generally just leave this alone and leave it at space plan because it's not that important. So anyway, I save that, and then I can go to my Drawing Composer component, and then we can look at what we're going to do here. So in Drawing Composer, I'm going to see a list of all these navigation images that I'm going to use. And so I pick out solar system, and you'll notice I've already put a hotspot here. So you can do a polyline, you can do a square, you can click on icon drop, and I icon dropped a circle here so that to represent the Earth. And you'll notice when I come over here, when I'm in Drawing Composer, I come over here and I click on this. There's a link attributes panel over here that kind of lets you tell this image what it's supposed to do. So, alright, so I've got a hotspot here that I've created, and I'm saying, I've put a little note here just so I understand what I'm doing. I'm going from the solar system to the Earth. So I'm telling it here where I want to go next off this list is Earth, okay? And then I save that, and I've got my navigation to my next. It's gonna, when I'm using this in drawings, it's going to go to the Earth image. Now I'm going to go to the Earth image in Drawing Composer, and in this case, I know I want to go to the United States, so I am going to take and create a polyline here, and I'm going to draw a half-hearted polyline around this area of the globe to represent the United States. And of course, if I click on that, you can see I said Earth to US is where I'm starting, and I'm coming down here. Where do I want to go next? I want to go to the United States image. Okay, and now we go look at the United States image, and here we've got that. And I would create another polyline around the state of Maine or wherever I wanted to go, or I could, depending on what kind of image I'm working with, I could use the icon drop and do a circle here, whatever. But the idea is to define a hotspot somewhere on this image to work with. And so now I click here on the hotspot, and now it lets me define my navigation, which I would say Earth to Maine. And where am I going? What's my next image in the tree? It's Maine. So now I go and click on the Maine image, and I know I want Eastern Maine. So in this case, I clicked over here and I did a circle drop. So just a drop a hotspot on here, and so I used that here to do that. So I dropped the circle on. Now I can click on that circle once I've dropped it. It's Maine to the hospital that I want to go. Maine to the campus map that I want to go to. So, okay, so now I know it's going to go to the campus map. So I go up here to the campus map image, and I chose to draw a polyline on here around this floor so that if I come over here, I can click on this floor, and if I click here, it's actually going to take me to, in this case, now you notice I'm getting down to where I want to go from images to an actual plan. So now I engage my property, building, and the floor plan that I want here. And in this case, I really want space plan here because that's where it's going. It's going to a space plan. So now I've sort of defined my whole navigation event here, and I can go actually and test this out. So now if I go back to the drawing viewer, and let me get out of the drawing viewer just so you can see what happens coming in fresh. So let me get to let me get to assets here. So I'm just on a different component of Evolve. And now I can pick here and say, all right, I'm going to come into drawings, and maybe my defaults are set up in Evolve so the drawings is what I open up. In that case, it's going to come right in here. The first image I'm going to see, because of the way I defined it, is I'm going to see the solar system. And I'm going to click on the Earth, and I'm going to click on the United States, and I'm going to click on the state of Maine, and I'm going to click on the Eastern Maine campus and see the thing. Then I'm going to click here, and presto, I've opened my drawing. And so that's how the navigation works once you've set it up. And that's how you create a navigation tree in Evolve.